Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television Main News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo to present the news. Our top stories in the news tonight: LUSAKA woman demands answers from UTH over the death of her baby. PF calls UPND a failed administration. Government elated over the 100% turnout of pupils sitting for examinations. In international news, Sudanese police and demonstrators clash in the capital, Khartoum. And in sports news, MWAPE names the SHIPOLOPOLO traveling squad for Colombia, TUSSLE.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, SAVENDA is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. SAVENDA Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think SAVENDA Farms.
Thank you for joining us once again. Another news in detail. A woman of Chiwolia compound in Kanyama constituency has demanded to know what happened to her baby at the University Teaching Hospital UTH, stating that while she gave birth to a healthy baby on the 31st of October 2022, she was not allowed to see the baby and was only informed 2 days later that her baby was in the mortuary. In an interview, 26-year-old Agnes Zulu suspects that her baby could have died in accidental circumstances, with this fact being hidden from her, stating that a check at the mortuary showed that the body of the baby had been compressed on one side with blood coming out of the nose. Meanwhile, her mother, Esna Chira, alleges that doctors and nurses at the hospital were not helpful after the family asked for the whereabouts of the baby following the delivery, stating that they were only told that the baby was in the nursery while never being allowed to see him. Camnet News has reached out to UTH Public Relations Manager Natalie Mashikolo to get a response from the hospital. More in this report.
Still in pain and nursing her wounds as a result of delivery through cesarean section, 26-year-old Agnes Zulu of LUSAKA Chiwolia compound in Kanyama constituency says she is burdened with a pain greater than that of her wound, which is not being able to hold her baby boy, as he allegedly died in mysterious circumstances at the University Teaching Hospital UTH. Ms. Zulu explains that she, along with the family, are still perplexed about the circumstances surrounding the baby's death, as she gave birth on 31st October 2022 to a bouncing baby boy weighing 4.4 kilograms, as indicated on the records. She explains that after the cesarean section, her baby was taken to the nursery along with other babies, but explains that she was only informed 2 days later, after inquiry on the whereabouts of her baby, that her child was in the mortuary.
Chifukwa kulera mimba 9 months ichintu chovuta maningi. So nivera kuipa nifuna che wonse wamene vaziva kuti mwana yuja pamene zopapa enze chabe buno bwino hawe nikamwantandizira chifukwa chakuti mimba inani baba ija ukamba chilungamo mwana enzo mkunezo kange wanoenda ura mai bali apenzo nuna pamene zoenda kuenda sina zoenda buno bwino iya ninange na muja mu diblo kuna tate wake wa mwana amene natenga nange na wanuza tia hii sorry mami mwana anamwalira mailo 02 so time yose iwaisi mnaniuze anacho kamo mwachifundo nachoka koma mapepa amene wanatenga yakuti ati niona ati mapepa ya mwana apeze kati manamba mbuya kwa mwana wanasiya panga mapepa yakuti si amene mapepa yakuti namba palibe. Kufunza mbuya kwa mwana namba simnasiya ati namba tinasiya. So why simnatume phone kuti nindano amenezo saina kuti mwana aende kumochari.
Her mother Esnachira says the family ran about asking for the whereabouts of the baby, adding that they were being referred from one doctor to another with no clear information. The woman says she is now demanding answers on the death of her grandson, adding that his body was compressed on one side in the mortuary, with fecal matter continuously coming out of his body and blood out of his nose.
Tinanya mukazona noenda kuja noendo mpeza mwana nshali mu mortuary. Tampeza pajata it's okay achachani afa mwana tibolo shika mairo. Mairo akaenda kubolo tenga chitumbi. Tapela chitumbi chichoka magazi mumpuno na mkama. Na kukwanja kumadigazi yakadi kudonya. Mwana tambika chitumbi mwana matuvi achachani yachoka ilopolo. Huku kumbali huku chafshantika huku kwa shitaso kwa fshantika huku. Tinaka manokamba ta. Huyu mwana ngati nikufshantika sembe anafshantika konse one side. Kaida agonera one side. Huku alichabe bwino. Abolo fshantika ichicheka cha bendera huku. Ero kamsambika haya naduzinga chani matuvi yakali kuchoka mtu wakufa. Tisambika paja. Hii tupi si nyang'anya sirangiza kuti uyu muntu ni wakufa. Mwenzo oneka chabe ni mwinangu. Manje tenzo nyamula povadika na tumendo tanyamula tasambika na mafuta tamuzoreka tamuvadika taendo shika kumanda. Mamene vinaendera mwanancha.
Phone calls made to UTH Public Relations Officer Natalie Mashkolo went unanswered by broadcast time, but we will continue trying to get in touch with the hospital. The family has called for answers, adding that only a clear explanation will restore faith in the hospital. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A 31-year-old woman of Lusaka's Zingalume West has remained permanently crippled after being hit by a vehicle alleged to belong to a Harrington temple along Lumumba Road. Chipo Seko has told Camnet News that the person who was responsible for her injuries disappeared shortly after police officers released the car, despite having agreed that he will take responsibility of all medical bills. Ms. Seko says the accused has also run away with the insurance document he was given to sign so that she can claim for insurance support. She says she has received little support from the police in bringing the culprit to book and has since called on women organizations, the Human Rights Commission and relevant authorities to help her seek justice in the matter. More in this report.
A 31-year-old woman of Lusaka, Zingalume West, identified as Chipo Seko, has been nursing serious injuries that have left her with a broken left arm and right leg, causing her to be glued to bed. Ms. Seko has told Camnet News that she was on 25th November 2021 hit by a vehicle along Lumumba Road on her way for work, where she was running her own restaurant at Woseko Market. She explains that the accident knocked her unconscious and that she could not clearly identify the person who was behind the wheel, but that she was informed by the police that it was a woman whose car brakes failed, thereby hitting her.
But after nauka banaboba news ati wananipeleka ku hospital ni wakapokora. So after wakapokora na sta find out tena ni bunga ni ndani wananiuza tena ni bunga alipo wanamugira na moto wanaipeleka kwa polisi. Ndimo mimi wanabwirira mkazi na mwamuna ku hospital kuboya mukuniona. Mkazi ndi analondolola accident mamene na chitikira ukambati ndine na kubunkani then na kulondolola accident vonse mamene na chitikira na kukambati na kushita promise kuti azalipira vonse mabills tizatandizirana.
The woman further says she was surprised that when she went to get her insurance claims from Lusaka City Police Post where the matter was reported, she was informed that it was a man who hit her and that she was given an insurance claim under the man's name.
Pamene na bwelera ku police na pezeka license banaika po ya mwamu na ise divaike po ya mkazi. after tabafunsa bakapokora uti after bafunsi bakuri banaenda utenga mapepa uti bana bunkani mukazi beve bakapokora banakamba ati ni mwamuna anani bunka banashita insist so yacha mapapers tinatenga nopereka ku insurance kuna bwera mapapers ya 3 yamene imozi doctor afunko saina imozi anani bunka afunko saina then imozi ndine nifunko saina ijamene afunko saina ujatina mpasa anani bunka wamene uyo then inapezeka chipepa anatenga anatengere anamulire rupepa akariboni bwezi.
Emotionally, she narrates to this reporter that her husband is nowhere to be seen and that she is now left to beg for alms from family members. She has since appealed to women organizations, the Human Rights Commission and other stakeholders to help her get justice in the matter.
Before accident in a restaurant, nina bana bali 4 bana baswainda ku masukuru bamuna nawo bamenenzo ngala nawo bananitaba vakudya nako ngovutikira babururu so chaburi apa niretera ko twakudya yodenga tisvanarete nishitiza gona na njala nishita appeal kuma well wishers kuma women organization na human rights vanitandizireko pari issue kuti abantu justice ishite prevail kozi inakulibeva mene nichita pari manje.
Meanwhile, the accused, identified as Mr. Tembo when contacted for a comment, told this reporter that the delays in assisting the woman has been because there has been change in directorate at his company, adding that he has also been in and out of the country.
Even a form of a comprehensive documentation to fill up, of which she was supposed to get the right form that she was supposed to get was a third-party form, which I collected those documents, and I later phoned her to say, how can we meet you? And she responded to say I should follow her at the house in Zanmone, but then I've been out of town. So over this weekend, that's when I can go to her house, explain to her what I was told from the insurance, then we pick it up from there so that I tell her what she has to do, the letter and everything, what they explained to me from the insurance. Then I get back all those documents and then take back to insurance. Then they start the process.
For now, our hopes of ever getting justice for her disability remains in the hands of those who are willing to take up a case and assist her in any way possible. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tawo Kawana says the current administration is elated with a response from pupils towards the enhanced free education policy, stating that the country has for the first time experienced a 100% turnout for all pupils sitting to write grade 12 examinations. Addressing the media Wednesday, Mr. Kawana explains that the good response has come about as a result of government paying examination fees for all grade 12s in the country at a cost of 22.5 million kwacha. He adds that the move is sustainable as it has been planned to run along with a free education policy, adding that the system will continue for as long as the current administration is in office. More in this report.
While education has for long been regarded as a powerful tool to end poverty and bring development, progress towards United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of universal access to education for all by 2030 has been a challenge due to the financial aspect attached, causing most pupils, especially those in rural areas, to drop out due to this problem, coupled with the long distances to schools in some areas. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, enrollment rates in the world, Zambia included, reduced during the coronavirus pandemic, as most parents opted to withdraw their children to help in economic activities. The enhancement of the free education policy by the current administration has therefore been seen as a welcome move, as this will help propel the education agenda in the country. Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tawo Kawana says the free education policy, which has come along with the paying of examination fees to the Examination Council of Zambia, ECZ, has resulted in a 100% turnout for all grade 12 sitting to write examinations in 2022. He was speaking to the media Wednesday.
So in this year's grade 12 examinations alone, the government has paid 22,500,000 to the Examination Council of Zambia for the purposes of examination fees on behalf of all the pupils. The government has also paid another 68 million kwacha to all schools across the country for the purposes of conducting the very exams. So this has resulted in 100% turnout for pupils coming out to write their exams, and this is extremely encouraging. And this has also turned out to be a fulfilled promise to the parents that were assured that with free education it would include examination fees for the pupils paid for in order to complete the equation.
Mr. Kawana further explains that the move is not a once-off arrangement, adding that it is to continue for as long as the United Party for National Development UPND administration is in office.
Remember that parents had questioned that yes, you have removed the PTA, you have removed the school fees, but our children still require to pay examination fees. And we had said to them that we will pay for the children, and we have paid. And this has resulted into this 100% turnout, because in the past, a lot of pupils failed to turn up to write for their exams because they could not afford the examination fees.
Stakeholders are observing the education sector to ensure that the quantity of education delivered is in line with quality to meet even international standards. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Third Liberation Movement Party President Enoch Tonga has accused most political parties in Zambia of formulating unrealistic party manifestos, all with the aim of trying to woo voters. In an interview, Mr. Tonga says based on past trends, most political parties have struggled to actualize their manifestos, citing economic trends. He has advised political parties to practice realistic politics, stating that this will help voters make informed choices. He has therefore called for the formulation of a law that will keep political parties that fail to make good on their promises accountable.
That is why it's very important the people of Zambia to see who are the vision bearers of these institutions. Additionally, we need to have law in place that will reprimand the politicians that like making promises, and on the way they shift when they are in the public office. That's the best way we can handle these matters of manifesto. So it is very important that we stick to the promises. Why? Because people vote for us based on the promise. But then if they change, they shift goalposts, they must be tried in the course of law. So we must introduce as a nation law in place. That if Mr. Tonga gives you that I will be giving you 3 meals in a day or 3 eggs in a day, when I'm the president, I happen not to give you those 3 eggs, I must be made to answer. It's as basic as that. So it is very significant, very important that political parties uphold their promises, because based on that, Zambians vote. Because they expect that when you deliver those promises, they will live their better lives. But if you shift away from that, it means you are destroying the agreement that you had entered into with the Zambians. So the bottom line is we need to put in the law in place to take care of those politicians who are liars when they get into public office.
Former Agriculture and Livestock Minister Grayford Monde has described the United Party for National Development administration as a failed project. In an interview, Mr. Monde notes that government has always talked about the agriculture sector as an alternative to copper, but has failed to manage it properly for 2 farming seasons. The former lawmaker, who is aspiring to be Patriotic Front president, says this will result in the country experiencing hunger in the year 2023. He explains that most of the farmers in this country are small-scale farmers who depend on government support through the Farmer Input Support Program, and failing to manage it will mean many people will starve after this season. Mr. Monde further says government does not have the capacity to feed the Zambian people if the expected hunger situation in 2023 is indeed experienced.
The government, the New Dawn government, as they are called, is a failed project. And I'm not just using terminologies. Here I'm referring to real activities that they had promised the people of Zambia and which have completely failed. Like as we talk now, you see there are rains outside there. And then we have all these farmers that are waiting. We expected that this government should have done much more better than what we are seeing today. There's no farming inputs with the people, and the little that we can see now is just a surplus of their failed deliveries for last season. This is what is now being distributed. There's going to be serious hunger next year, and we are very worried as a country. As a former Minister of Agriculture, I know that this thing needed no experts, apart from the Zambian experts that we have in the ministries. But what is happening now is that you see there are many people that are being led out of their employment because they're perceived to be PF members, and some of them because they come from certain regions. I want to say to you, the country, that when I become president of this country in 2026, we will ensure that #1 priority on our list is to unify this country, because a united nation is going to achieve much more. We will not segregate people based on their tribe, ethnicity, or any affiliation or perceived association with certain groups. What comes first, I think, is Zambia. When you are a Zambian, you are supposed to be empowered. When you are a Zambian, you are supposed to give back to the country.
Minister of Agriculture Ruben Mtolo-Piri says farmers across the country will Thursday, 10th November 2022, start collecting their inputs under the Farmer Input Support Program FISP. The minister, who briefed the media in Lusaka Wednesday, has, however, stated that farmers who cultivate more than 5 hectares of land do not qualify to benefit from the FISP program. Mr. Piri says the guidelines for one to qualify for the program are clear, and that government has begun the gradual process of removing some old beneficiaries from the program. Government will not be complied to stick to the approved FISP implementation manual when it has noticed some loopholes in the implementation process, the minister said. We have more in this report.
The distribution of the 2022 to 2023 farming input under the Farmer Input Support Program FISIP has been marred with various challenges, among them the late delivery of the inputs by some suppliers to some farmers being removed from the program on reasons that they have benefited from the program for more than 5 years. Minister of Agriculture Ruben Piri, who briefed the media in Lusaka Wednesday, has however announced that farmers will starting Thursday, 10th September 2022, start collecting their inputs in various districts, and that representatives from each cooperative will be allowed to collect the inputs on behalf of the cooperative.
Inform the nation that the farmers will be allowed to start collecting inputs from tomorrow, 10th November 2022. So if we are farmers here, just know that the depots are opening up for us tomorrow, Thursday, 10th November 2022, across the country.
Meanwhile, the minister was quick to mention that government has begun the process of gradually removing farmers who have been on the program for more than 5 years to allow for other farmers to also benefit from the program.
We need to ensure that farmers to be graduated from the program on account of having been on the program for a long time are given ample time to prepare to purchase inputs from the open market. In other words, we're not just harshly saying, you have been in this program, go out all of you, and then we put new. No. We are saying those who have been receiving these inputs for say 5 years plus can now start leaving way for others. It is only a fair thing that we want to do. Otherwise, some have been on this program from 2002 when it started to today. Now, 2002, this is 2022. How many years is that?
Meanwhile, the minister says it will not be compelled to follow the implementation manual that was approved at the beginning of the program, adding that there has been new development in the sector.
Now, we are not going to be stuck with the manual. We are a bit late. We want the farmers to go and collect their inputs. In some of the areas, it is time, we've been told by the Met that it is time we can plant. We don't want to delay those farmers. So we will change the process and say, go now, allow a cooperative. The way I was using Honorable Kawana here, Mr. Kawana here, to say now Mr. Kawana is our chairman or is our secretary or our treasurer. We ask him to get our PIN numbers to go and redeem our PIN numbers so that he can come with our fertilizer on a truck
With the onset of the rain season already in effect, government says it has already delivered 55% of the inputs and that the remaining 45% will be delivered on time. Speaking of time, the rain season is already in effect and all that the farmers are hoping for is to see to it that they receive the inputs in the shortest possible time. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, the Agriculture Minister has warned farmers in eastern Muchinga and part of northern Central and Lusaka provinces not to start planting their fields, but instead focus on land preparation. Mr. Perry says some parts of the country have received sufficient rains that have enabled the soil to have sufficient moisture to support plant growth and has encouraged farmers in those areas to start planting. The minister adds that the prevailing cloudy weather conditions with rainfall activities over much of western and half of Zambia are expected to continue in the next 10 days.
Due to the prevailing weather conditions, northwestern, western, southern, Copperbelt and Luapula provinces, including western parts of Lusaka, central and northern provinces, have sufficient moisture to support plant germination. Farmers in these areas are therefore advised to prepare their fields and contact their local agriculture extension officers for advice on which crop varieties to plant. Number 3, farmers in eastern and Mchinga provinces, including parts of northern, central and Lusaka provinces, are advised to focus on land preparation in their fields and will be guided to plant when the soil moisture is sufficient. In other words, it's not sufficient to plant in these areas. We could waste our seed. This is in eastern, in Mchinga, parts of northern, parts of central and Lusaka provinces.
This is Camnet Television News. We take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Are you going in grade 6, 8, 10 or 11 in 2023? Waste no time. Born for Greatness Tuition Center will be opening to the public in Kablonga, Lusaka. Quality and experienced teachers guaranteed. Limited space available. Call and book for your child now on
0962 382535.
Classes are starting on 5th December 2022. Born for Greatness Tuition Center, learning for reigning in life.
We continue with the news. Kawe District Commissioner Lennox Shimwambwa has dispelled assertions from the general public that government has not yet delivered 2022 to 2023 farming inputs. The district commissioner says, contrary to the assertions of the public, government has already started delivering all farming inputs to all respective depots in the district. The district commissioner further revealed that out of 62,292 50-kilogram bags of D-compound fertilizer allocated to the district. The supplier, Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia, has delivered 15,140 50-kilogram bags.
Kabwe District Commissioner Lennox Chimambwa has dispelled assertions that government has delayed the delivery of the 2022-2023 farming imports. Speaking when he toured one of the warehouses in Kabwe, the district commissioner says government is on course and that all farming imports will be delivered on time before the climax of the rainy season.
Evidence is right here that Kabwe district indeed has got inputs. So later in the week also we'll be doing another tour to check on the seed. Our agents and also the warehouse managers for the seed as well as urea. So it's exciting times for us as a district, and we are very happy to government, to the President of the Republic of Zambia, that they have made such facilitation on time.
The district commissioner revealed that out of 62,292 50 kg bags of D-compound allocated to the district, the supplier, Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia, has so far delivered 15,140 50 kg bags.
Out of a total allocation of 3,114 metric tons, in layman's terms, 62,292 bags. We have received 15,100. For us, it now kickstarts the exercise. So that all things being equal, next week, sometime towards the end of next week, we can start issuing authority to collect so that the farmers can begin to access.
The district commissioner has urged the depot manager, Mrs. Clarissa Kanjue, to follow the guidelines during the disbursement of the fertilizer to the actual beneficiaries.
Let's follow the guidelines. We don't know the situation where people are paying money to get fertilizer. You know what used to happen before? People would come and they would pay the security and jump the queues. That's what was happening with them. Yes. So make sure that the correct thing is done. Don't get pressure from our friends from agriculture, no. Don't let them put you under pressure. They give you guidelines, follow the guidelines. Tell them, you've set the rules yourselves.
About 28,000 farmers in Kabwe district are likely to benefit from the Farmers Input Support Program, FISIP. Petronella Msangurude, Camnet TV News in Kabwe.
First Lady Mutinta Hichilema has called for an acceleration of efforts by the HIV/AIDS advocacy campaign in order to end the disease in children. Mrs. Hichilema says Zambia is lagging behind in terms of providing HIV/AIDS curative services to children living with HIV/AIDS. She is hopeful that the HIV/AIDS advocacy campaign initiative will bridge gaps where the country is lagging in providing curative services. Mrs. Hichilema was speaking during the UNAIDS luncheon in Lusaka today. And speaking at the same function, Minister of Health Sylvia Masebo said it was a scandal that not many children are on life-saving or antiretroviral drugs compared to adults. Meanwhile, UNAIDS Zambia Country Director Thasise Barihuta said there is need to improve access to medicines and other HIV services among children. A National AIDS Council chairperson, Connie Osborne, regretted that the country has seen an upsurge in AIDS infections, especially among adolescents in the country. The Energy Regulation Board has continued with its tour of provinces to disseminate information on the results of a study on the cost of electricity service. The board was in Chipata, Eastern Province, where several stakeholders gathered to understand and appreciate the results of the study.
The Energy Regulation Board is working effectively to ensure that the electricity cost of service delivery is to the satisfaction of all consumers and stakeholders in the country. A team from the ERB has held a one-day stakeholders meeting in Chipata to disseminate electricity cost of service delivery study results and the government green paper. Energy economist Isaac Soko has represented Minister of Energy Permanent Secretary Francesca Zambo.
The government works for the people, therefore the people's interests are always taken into consideration in formulation of policies and documents such as the one that will be presented today. I believe that stakeholders are the highest organ in the approval process of the cost of service study results, and I want to recognize the patience and support rendered. Progress recorded thus far has been made possible courtesy of the contributions received from various stakeholder institutions which you represent, and it is my wish and prayer that you continue doing so until the study results are fully implemented.
ERB Director of Economic Regulation, Alfred Muller, has made a presentation on the findings of the cost service study.
So in the next 5 years, the average that the study computed was that the most efficient economic tariff for the entire Zambian power system, for the entire Zambian power system, is 8.93 US cents a kilowatt. If we sit on this tariff on average for the next 5 years, it means that we have got an efficient tariff. And it computed that the tariffs on average will reach 10.44 US cents.
The team paid the courtesy call on Eastern Province Permanent Secretary Potole. Sylvester Chimba for ZANIS in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
The Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested former Ministry of Agriculture Permanent Secretary Songowayo Ziambo, a former principal agriculture economist and former principal accountant for corruption involving 131 million United States dollars in a case of unsupplied fertilizer. SEC head corporate communications Timothy Mono says Mr. Ziambo and the two he is accused with have been jointly charged with one count of fraudulently facilitating payment from the public revenue for goods not supplied in full, contrary to the laws of Zambia. Mr. Mono says details are that on dates unknown, but between 1st January 2021 and 31st December 2021, Mr. Ziambo, jointly and acting together with Mr. Mwale and Mr. Kabwe, did sign a letter of confirmation to Zambia National Commercial Bank on the 8th of April 2021, stating that Neria Investments Limited had delivered 100% of D-compound and urea fertilizer according to the requirements of the contract, when in fact not. He says Neria Investment Limited was contracted by government to supply about 75,000 metric tons of D-compound and about 59,000 metric tons of urea at a contract price of about 104 2,682 kwacha. The Commission in July recorded a warn and caution statements from 4 directors at Neria Investment Limited, among them Bokani Soko, Justin Katanekwa, Mohammed Yusuf, and Nadim Yusuf. This is Camnet Television News. We take a break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Cabbages, onions, maize, potatoes, tomatoes, chilies. At Raingrow, we supply great quality irrigation for the mentioned crops and more at an affordable price. Get our 2,000 meter flat drip for as low as 2,900 kwacha, or our 500 meter round hose for 1,300 kwacha. Customize your own spacing with our 500 meter blank round hose going for 1,200 kwacha, ideal for orchards such as avocado, mango, banana, oranges, etc. Rain-Glow irrigation. Best quality, best price.
And in international news, Sudanese police and demonstrators clashed on Tuesday in the capital, Khartoum. The pro-democracy demonstrators chanted no to military rule as they marched towards the presidential palace, denouncing last year's coup led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan that derailed the transition to civilian rule. According to eyewitnesses, thousands also demonstrated in the city of Wad Madani, south of Khartoum, and Gedaref in the east. United Nations reported over 370 people killed in clashes this year, and at least 210,000 were forced from their homes. Here's a roundup of international news for more.
Sudanese police and demonstrators clashed on Tuesday in the capital, Khartoum. The pro-democracy demonstrators denounced last year's coup led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan that derailed the transition to civilian rule. According to the United Nations, over 370 people have been killed this year in clashes.
And Fridays for Future.
Climate activist and UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador Vanessa Nakate has warned against new fossil fuel projects on the African continent at the UN Climate Summit on Wednesday. She added that decades of fossil fuel development has failed to help people in sub-Saharan Africa to basic electricity access.
To those who have come to COP27 with the intention of promoting new fossil fuels, I say, no, we will not let you gas Africa. Gas is a dangerous distraction for Africa. Decades of fossil fuel development has failed to help the 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa without basic electricity access. The oil and gas they dig up will be shipped straight back to countries in the global north, and the profits in the pockets of the multinational oil and gas companies.
Nakate has previously spoken out against East African crude oil pipeline, which would run through her country, Uganda. She feared any new fossil fuel projects would soon become stranded assets, which would leave African countries with debts.
Instead of burdening Africa with fossil fuels for their own profit, we need rich countries to step up and start paying money for the loss and damage fossil fuels have caused. The suffering I saw amongst the children of Turkana cannot be adapted to. We young people from Africa and across the global south are frightened, but we are here to tell leaders in the global north that they cannot get away with this. We cannot let these injustices unfold as they are.
One after the other, leaders of developing nations called for the establishment of a loss and damage fund that would compensate them for the here and now destruction caused by natural disasters, arguing that rich nations are responsible for the biggest share of planet heating emissions.
It's now time for sports news. And now in sports news, Zambia senior women's national team coach Bruce MWAPE has announced his 27-member squad for the two international friendly matches against Colombia on November 12 and 15. MWAPE has named a squad comprising 21 locally based players and 6 players plying their trade abroad, led by the experienced Spain-based trio of Rachel Nachula, Rachel Kundananji and Grace Chanda. The team is expected to leave for Cali tonight, Wednesday, 9th November 2022. Foreign-based players will join directly in Cali, where both Zambia and Colombia will be using the FIFA A-grade matches to prepare for the FIFA Women's World Cup to be co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand in July 2023. Copper Queens are in Group C alongside Spain, Japan and Costa Rica, while Colombia will face Germany, Morocco and South Korea in Group H at the 9th edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup. To end Camnet Television News, we'll take a look at top stories once again. LUSAKA woman demands answers from UTH over the death of her baby. PF calls UPND a failed administration. Government elated over the 100% turnout of pupils sitting for examinations. In international news, Sudanese police and demonstrators clash in the capital, Khartoum. And in sports news, MWAPE names the SHIPOLOPOLO traveling squad for Colombia TUSSLE. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Isaiah 1, verse 18. Come now, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be like wool. Thank you once again for watching the news. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Have a good night.